Warning, this video contains adult content not suitable for children. Are you a fan of Girls Gone Wild? Have you seen all of the videos they've put out and they're just not doing it for you anymore? Are you ready for something a little bit different? Well, hold on to your hats because we're introducing Demons Gone Wild. We've traveled all around the country tracking down America's hottest demons, and you won't believe what they're willing to do for our cameras. For only $9.99, you can see all the hot, uncensored action we could never show you on TV. To order Demons Gone Wild, call the number on your screen or go to demonsgonewild.com. Must be 18 to order. Hey, what's going on everyone? My name is Keith and this is VHS on Tape. On this channel I do movie reviews for horror movies that came out in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. If that sounds like something you think you'd enjoy, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Oh, also hit the bell icon, that way you'll be notified when I upload a new video. And hey, if you think this is good, hit that like button as well. Also, if you like this, tell your friends, tell your family, hell, even tell your enemies so that they can get some entertainment before you destroy them. Mausoleum came out on May 13th, 1983 and runs for 1 hour and 36 minutes. It was written by Robert Barrick, Robert Madero, and Catherine Rosenwink. It was directed by Michael Dugan, and I'm sure you've seen some of his other works, which include Raging Hormones and The Adventures of Turkey Dude. Today we have a movie that involves a graveyard, a buxom blonde, and the supernatural. So without further ado, let's get into the movie that is Mausoleum. The movie starts off in a graveyard where we get the title of the movie along with some good music. I will admit that during this part I was definitely thinking this was going to be a very low budget movie, which it's not. The opening credits also go for 2 minutes before we meet young Susan, played by Julie Christie Murray. She was in absolutely nothing else. And her aunt Cora, played by Laura Hippie. She was in Stay Hungry. We find out that Susan's mom just died and that she's gonna go live with Cora until she's old enough to inherit her mother's estate. As Cora is trying to get Susan to leave, she takes off, and I can't really say she runs away, it's more like a light jog. Then we see Cora overreact just a little bit.
Not Susan! Oh God, please, not Susan!
Seriously, Cora, she's really not running that fast. You could probably catch up to her, if you moved. And just watching the way she jogs, I'm pretty sure this girl was in track. Then young Susan hears her name being called and what sounds like a wolf howl to me. Now this movie is not about werewolves, so I'm not really sure why it's in there. When young Susan looks over, she sees this, and I'm not entirely sure what effect they were going for here, but I'll say fire. As she jogs closer, we get a better look. Yep, okay, I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be fire. But when she walks closer, it goes away, and then this happens. So naturally, she decides to go in. As she's walking in, we see that it's apparently lightning inside. Although I do have to say that I like the lighting they went with here. It looks pretty cool. As she makes her way deeper into the mausoleum, she sees this sign that reads Nomad, and as she's zoning out, this guy comes in and asks what she's doing there before being attacked by one hell of a shadow puppet. As he stumbles out, young Susan's eyes start to glow green, and I really like the shot of him through the gate door. It's very, very short, but I think it's also very nice. And when he makes his way over to some gravestones, this happens. Okay, so they actually only show it once in the movie. I just thought it deserved more exposure. Part of the guy's head explodes. That's a pretty nifty effect. Then young Susan moves closer to the, would it be considered a coffin? Yeah, sure, alright, let's call it a coffin. And then she sees something, and when she touches it, it cuts her finger, then this happens. And I got a little disappointed here. After we just got that cool partial head explosion, I was hoping for some kind of awesome possession scene, but no, it just fades to black. For all we know, young Susan gave it a high five, then just ran away. Well, let's just assume that's not what happened and move on. Then we see an older Cora talking to Dr. Simon Andrews, played by Norman Burton. He has 90 acting credits on his IMDb, so you might have seen him in a lot of things. But I'm guessing most of you probably recognize him from his role as Helmer in the action classic Bloodsport. What's Bloodsport, you say? Well, if anyone here doesn't know what Bloodsport is, then you can get the fuck out, because I don't want to work with you. Bloodsport is a fantastic 1988 movie about a martial arts tournament, the Kumite, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, that basically helped raise me. You know, I used to think that one day I was actually going to fight in the Kumite, but now my body hurts from just sleeping, so I'd say there's still about a, 30% chance of that happening. One of these days, I'm probably going to have to do a review on Bloodsport. It's not a horror movie, but I might have to make an exception because it's great. Anyways, Dr. Simon says that he's been treating Susan since she was a child and that her behavior has been normal for over 10 years now, and that there's nothing wrong with her. Cora responds with,
"What happened to my sister and to the Nomad family is not my imagination,"
before offering him her father's diary. And I gotta say, that's one hell of a diary. Most people have like a notebook or something. This dude has a hardcover book with his family's name embossed on it. That's some serious journaling. Cora then says that Susan is starting to behave the same way her mom did before she died. And Dr. Simon says that Cora says this every anniversary of her sister's death, every time Susan visits her mother's grave. And as he's telling Cora that Susan's an adult now and married, that it's time to let go. We meet adult-age Susan, played by Bobby Breezy. She was in Ghoulies, Evil Spawn, and Surf Nazis Must Die. We see that she's visiting her mom's grave. Well, don't worry. According to Dr. Simon, there shouldn't be anything to worry about here. Ah, shit. Well, it looks like Dr. Simon was wrong. As Susan is walking towards the mausoleum, Dr. Simon takes out the diary he got from Cora and, wait a minute, is that a different book? Yeah, I think that's a different book. Alright, let's check the footage. So here's the book that Cora gave him, and there's the book he just pulled out. Yeah, those are two different books. Oh, they tried to pull a fast one on us. Look, the fonts are different. Thank goodness for modern technology. Can you imagine seeing this in the theater and being like, I think those were two different books? Then you try telling your partner about it and they're like, I didn't notice a difference. It's probably just your imagination. And they move on, not thinking much of it, but you're left irritated because they never believe you. They always dismiss what you say, even on little things like this. Oh, you can't even believe me that they use two different books? Am I that much of a stupid idiot that you can't believe anything I say? So you try telling them one more time, and they dismiss it again. So that's it. This book is the final straw that breaks your relationship. So after a lengthy court battle, you get a divorce. And let's be honest, it got pretty messy there. Well, they got the house, so you had to move back in with your parents. It's just until you get back on your feet, but let's face it, the divorce left you financially ruined. The attorney fees alone, my God. A few years later, you're leaving the supermarket and you run into your ex. They're obviously doing quite well. They did decent without you, And you figure, hey, some time has gone by. We're not married anymore. I wonder, will they admit that they used two different books? So you bring it up again. Say, hey, you remember when we saw Mausoleum in the theater? And I tried telling you they used two different books and you were like, no. Do you believe me now? And they still say no, because why would they? They have the upper hand. You're basically destitute. And that's how it ends. Oh no, there's no happy ending in that story. So, again, thank goodness for modern technology. Dr. Simon reads from the diary, and according to it, basically a demon escaped hell and was rewarded with the eternal possession of the firstborn daughter of the Nomad bloodline. And if the demon leaves the mausoleum, it will become one with the possessed. And the only way to defeat the demon is by
the firstborn having reunited the demon with the crown of thorns.
And that no Nomad woman should go into the mausoleum. So naturally, Susan walks in there again. Cut to Susan laying on the couch before we meet her husband, Oliver, played by Marjo Gortner. He was in Star Crash and Falcon Crest. And for some reason, his face reminds me of a penis with hair. Am I the only one who gets that? Also, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Susan asks if he drove her home, and he says she must have been dreaming. Then we see that they are being watched by Ben the gardener. He's played by Maurice Sherbani. He was in Death Cruise. Ben rings a bell and tells Oliver he'll be back next week to finish removing a tree stump. Oliver suggests they go out dancing before we cut to the club. While being seated, this guy stares at Susan and gets busted by his girl, but he reassures her that he only has eyes for her.
I don't know what the hell you're talking about, but you're always bitching about the same old shit.
She takes off, and Oliver and Susan go dancing. While on the dance floor, Oliver gets a phone call, and old Beardy steps right in his place. Even though Susan doesn't want him to. Old Beardy can't understand how she couldn't want him, before Oliver comes back and says that they have to go because he has to go get some contracts signed. While they are outside waiting for the valet to get their car, old Beardy stumbles out into them before going to his car. Even Susan says that he's drunk, but notice how no one tries to stop him from driving? But before he can kill somebody on the road, his car starts on fire, and if you're an extra and you get a line, this is probably one of the best lines you could get.
Oh, shit!
I just love how this lady delivers this line.
Oh, shit!
Oliver runs over to the car, and Susan's eyes start to glow green, so apparently she caused the car to start on fire. Oliver tries to get old Beardy out, but the doors won't budge before an obviously different car explodes. I guess that's one way to stop drunk driving. Cut back to the Farrell house, and we meet Elsie, the maid, played by LaWanda Page. She was in Friday and 48 episodes of Sanford and Son. We also find out that Elsie is a little sassy.
Who is that for, Miss Fair?
For the Delmarcos next week.
Them? They can eat hot dogs.
Before seeing that Ben is spying again while rubbing his belly. How was your Easter? Once Elsie leaves, Ben comes in and goes full-on creep.
Mr. Farrell around?
No, he's at work, Ben. What do you want?
Alone at last.
You know, it's starting to look less like a story about demonic possession and more like a story about everyday life as a woman. After Ben gets some coffee, he leaves and starts working on the stump. And no, that's not a metaphor. We then see Susan's mood change and her eyes glow green again, and as she looks out at Ben, the door starts to shake. When Ben comes to investigate, we see that Susan's demeanor has definitely changed.
Are you all right, Mrs. Farrell?
Call me Susan.
Then we get a montage of what Ben's day looks like, and I'll admit, when he's eating lunch, I feel kind of sad for him. I mean, he looks pretty sad sacky. Then we cut back to Susan, and whoa! I mean, that kind of catches you off guard. Not in a bad way, though. Then Susan walks out to her balcony above Ben and decides to give him a little show. Okay, so this does fall under sending mixed signals, and Ben is experiencing what all guys have, not having any idea what the hell is going on inside of her head. Later that night, as Ben is still working, Susan walks out and offers to go with him to look for the cup he borrowed earlier. Once they get into the garage, they go at it hard. After we see that it's a full moon out, and again, there are no werewolves in this movie. We cut back to the sinner and see that her eyes are glowing green again. Ben lays back for round 2, and then this happens. So, he's dead. Now, I do have to point out that earlier she started a car on fire with her mind, so she didn't have to bang the gardener to kill him. She must be in her dirty 30s. Oliver comes home, and for those of you who are curious, that unique looking car he's driving is a 1981 Bradley GT2 electric. And as the name implies, it was an electric car, and there were only 50 of them ever made. And I feel like he's supposed to be a big shot, but that outfit doesn't seem right with the briefcase. When he walks in, we see...
Susie.
And...
I've never seen you like this before.
Really? You've never seen your wife laying down in sexy clothes? That's gotta be a pretty boring marriage. Anyways, we get a love scene, and at this point, Oliver has no idea that he's a cuckold. While getting ready the next morning, Oliver hears Susan talking to herself,
No more. No more. I won't. I can't.
So it is.
When he asks about it, she says she doesn't know what he's talking about. He leaves her work, and later Cora shows up. When she goes to knock, the door opens up by itself. Once inside, she calls out for Susan and Elsie, but doesn't get a response. She then gets irritated pretty quickly.
Where the hell is she?
Alright, look lady, you're showing up at somebody else's house. You know, they might be doing things when you get there, so just chill out. When she goes to leave, she hears something upstairs, and when she investigates, she finds Susan. And when Cora cops an attitude again, we see that Susan isn't here right now. Cora gets floated up and then ripped apart. Overall, this scene reminds me of junior high, with the blacklight going on. Well, that and the one girl who got possessed, but that's a story for another time. Cut to Oliver coming home and asking what's for dinner, and Susan responds,
Poached salmon. And me.
Okay, now ladies, while the second part is an awesome answer that you should definitely use, I don't recommend leading off with poached salmon. I mean, you know what? I would actually stay away from mentioning anything poached. Also, it appears that murdering people gets her in the mood. Next, Oliver wakes up and sees Susan in a rocking chair looking a little rough. He goes downstairs and calls Dr. Simon and tells him,
Oh my God, I mean, it was awful.
Now calm down, Oliver.
And I like how Dr. Simon tells him to calm down. I mean, he didn't really seem that worked up to me. Oliver tells him,
I don't know what it was, but I know it wasn't Susan.
Dr. Simon tells him to have Susan come to his office tomorrow. Susan comes down looking like herself again. Next we see Susan dreaming, and it's mostly just scenes from earlier in the movie, but they do throw in something that's very on the nose. Their family name is Nomad. Well, what's Nomad spelled backwards? Yeah, they kind of just softball that one in. Then we see that Oliver is with her, and we can tell by his face that he's thinking about that poached salmon line from earlier. Cut to the next morning, and Oliver tells Elsie that today she really needs to take care of Susan. When she goes upstairs, she gets a great line.
There's some strange shit going on in this house, and I know damn well it is.
Then they decide to go full-on comedic here. It's definitely out of nowhere, but they do give Elsie some great lines here.
Mother, father, sucker got away.
After that, she goes to check on Susan, and the fog, the lighting, and the music, they're all a nice touch. But when she sees Susan, it does a complete 180 and goes comedic again.
No more grieving, I'm deep.
And Elsie takes off. We then see Susan at Dr. Simon's, and he suggests they try hypnosis. She doesn't think it will work, but gives it a shot. While under, she reverts back to her 10-year-old self before this happens.
What?
When Dr. Simon asks who they are, it says, Okay, so the demon's name is the same as the family's name? So who's named after who? You know, the storyline is starting to get a little murky here. And I love this part because it looks like the demon is poking Dr. Simon like an older sibling would. But I'm pretty sure it's not supposed to be funny. Dr. Simon counts Susan out of hypnosis. After she leaves, he calls a colleague and tells her he needs help with Susan because he's never seen anything like this before. Then we meet Dr. Logan, played by Sherry Mann. Her only other acting credit is in a movie called Cafe Destiny, which came out 36 years after this one. Apparently she has experience with possessions and helps convince Dr. Simon that it's real. Then he tells her,
Susan's very, very special to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's special to all of us. Then this guy shows up with a plant delivery, and Susan says they didn't order any. She tells him to come in and use her phone to figure out the problem, and for a minute I thought I was watching something else. I don't know, maybe it's just me. When they get into the kitchen, he goes for it, but she tells him to make the call first. When he gets on the phone, we see the green eyes again, and then this happens. And I have to say, that would be a horrific thing to experience. Looking down and seeing one of your eyes in your hand? Ugh. Oliver comes home and Susan is in her happy place. He tries to talk to her, but she says she's too tired. Cut to the doctors, and Logan is telling Simon that everything he needs to know is in the family diary, and that
you must use the crown of thorns.
Oliver shows up, and Dr. Simon explains, over a shot of Susan walking around a very cold mall, that she is possessed. But Oliver doesn't buy it. Dr. Simon tells him to go home, but not to get too close to Susan. Cut back to Susan looking at a painting when this guy tells her it's been sold. She says she wants to buy it, but he says he can't because it's already sold. Somebody distracts him, and Susan takes the painting. Now, I have mixed feelings about what happens next. The guy yells at Susan,
"Hey, lady! God damn it, bring that back! Wait a second! It isn't mine!"
Now, this I totally get, because if you've worked in customer service, you know what assholes people can be, and this guy has probably just had a long day. So I see where he's coming from, but also the sound of his voice also makes me want to toss him over a balcony too, so I don't know. Either way, he dies a brutal death. Then Oliver comes home and sees the painting, and I don't think he likes it.
What the hell is this?
He talks to Susan, who says there's nothing wrong with her, and he disagrees, stating,
Honey, there is something wrong with you. Look at this. What is this? What the hell's going on here? What is this, huh? There's something wrong with you.
And I love how obviously there's something wrong with her, but it's her taste in her art that's too much for Oliver. They fight, and he leaves. Then we get this scene, which just seems like filler to me. Cut to dinner, and Oliver says she can keep the painting if she likes, and he also finds out that she doesn't like being called Susie.
And don't call me Susie, I hate it!
Susie?
Then we get a slow-mo shot of her breaking a plate, and see that Dr. Simon is driving to the mausoleum. Oliver goes to talk to Susan, who's taking a bath, in a scene that seems pretty gratuitous without actually showing any nudity, initially. They make up and start to get down to business, and we cut back and forth from Dr. Simon getting to the mausoleum and going to grab the crown of thorns, and Susan sensing it. When he finally does, this happens. Apparently removing the crown of thorns fully releases the demon. Oh, and Oliver dies. Then Dr. Simon shows up, and after a drawn-out search of the house, he finds Oliver's body. He ends up going up to the attic, where Susan apparently thinks she's a child again. We also see the bodies of the other people she's killed. After she talks about her parents, Susan starts to transform again, and Dr. Simon says that he's going to finish what her father died trying to do. Then he puts the crown of thorns on her, and she starts to transform, I guess. And then we see her and the demon at the same time until the demon wins. After a minute, the demon falls down, and it turns back into Susan. We cut to the demon being back at the mausoleum. As Dr. Simon helps Susan out, we see the demon walking towards the coffin. They show up at the mausoleum as the demon removes the crown and hugs the coffin. Dr. Simon leads Susan into the mausoleum. Wait a minute, I thought the diary said that no nomad woman should enter the mausoleum. Well, we'll look past that, I guess. They see Nomad hanging out on the coffin. Dr. Simon explains,
You released it as a child. Only you can return it. There's no more time.
And then we see young Susan walking towards Nomad, and she switches back and forth from young to adult age Susan until she places the crown on Nomad's stomach and the coffin closes. I do really like the purple lights coming through the windows. Susan says that she doesn't understand and asks where Oliver is. He responds,
Later. Later.
I mean, I guess that's easier than saying, well, your demon tits kind of killed him. When they get outside, he puts her in his car, then walks over to someone in a robe sitting on a gravestone. He tells them,
You've known the secret and lived with it, like your father before you, and his father before him.
Before walking away, and we see that it's Ben the gardener. Wait, what the hell is happening? Ben then stares at the camera while laughing, and that's how the movie ends. Okay, so Ben the gardener isn't dead, even though his body is in Susan's attic. And his father and grandfather were supposed to keep people out of the mausoleum, but everyone and their cousin was going inside there. And how the hell did Dr. Simon know that Ben knew what was going on? You know, there's a difference between putting a clever twist at the end of your movie and trying too hard to put a twist at the end and having it make no damn sense. I'll let you guess which one this is. And now for some fun facts. The contact lenses that Bobby Breezy wore for the green eye effect actually damaged her eyes. The damage meant she filmed some scenes towards the beginning of the movie without being able to see. This movie was produced by the yuppie Don Michael Franzese. Franzese? The former capo of the Colombo crime family. According to Bobby Breezy, the producer set up bleachers for the crew to watch her sex scene. I'm not sure which one, but that's pretty ridiculous. It's a hard name to say. Marjo Gortner, or Oliver, was known as the world's youngest ordained minister at the age of 4. He also made a documentary called Marjo that he hoped would reveal the deception of what he had been doing as a minister. So if Susan's father died trying to stop the demon in her mom, indicating he didn't succeed, how did her mom die? They never really cover that. You know, it's just one more question I have about this movie. So, would I recommend Mausoleum?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a decent bad movie. It's not great, but it's not terrible either. It's somewhere in the middle. It has some good special effects, the music is overall pretty good, and the acting isn't terrible. Granted, the plot isn't the strongest. It's not a bad movie to watch if you're bored. I'll put a link in the description where you can watch it for free, at least at the time of this recording. Well, what did you think? Have you seen Mausoleum? Did you like it? Let me know in the comments. In my last review, I looked at D-Lift, so I'll put a link up so you can check that out too. Well, that's going to do it for this one. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time.